The stars look different out here. Captain Dongwu pressed his palm against the cool metal of the observation window and watched the purple gases of the Helix Nebula swirl in the distance. His ship, the Teguk's Pride, had been traveling through this empty space for 3 weeks now. The mission was simple: map new star systems and look for planets that humans might want to live on someday. "Captain, we're picking up some strange readings," said Jiwoo from her station at the communications desk. She was young, maybe 25, with sharp eyes that never missed anything. Her fingers danced across the controls as she tried to make sense of what her equipment was telling her. Dongwu turned away from the window. "What kind of readings?" "I'm not sure. The sensors are showing energy patterns that don't match anything in our database. It's like something big is moving out there, but I can't see it." The captain walked over to the main control area where his crew worked. The bridge of the Teguk's Pride was not very large. 37 people lived and worked on this ship, but most of them were down in the lower levels right now. Only the essential crew stayed on the bridge during routine travel. Hyun-sik looked up from his tactical station. He was the ship's weapons officer, though there was not much for him to do on an exploration mission. Their ship only had basic defensive systems. "Sir, I'm seeing the same thing Jiwoo is. Something is definitely out there." "Could it be asteroids? Maybe some kind of natural phenomenon?" Dongwu asked. So-young, the chief engineer, shook her head. Her dark hair was tied back in a practical bun, and her uniform showed the oil stains that came from working in the engine room. "No, sir. These energy signatures are too organized, too purposeful. This looks like technology." The captain felt a cold feeling in his stomach. They were very far from human space. The nearest human outpost was weeks away, even at top speed. If there was alien technology out here, his small exploration ship would be in serious trouble. "Red alert," Dongwu said quietly. "All hands to battle stations." The alarm began to sound throughout the ship. It was a low, steady tone that meant danger. Within minutes, all 37 crew members were at their posts. The bridge became busier as more officers arrived to help with whatever was coming. Then, space itself seemed to tear open. The first ship appeared like a giant crystal, all angles and sharp edges that caught the light from nearby stars. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Then another appeared and another. These ships were different from the first ones. They looked like they were grown instead of built, with smooth curves and surfaces that seemed to pulse with their own light. "My God," whispered Hyun-sik. "How many are there?" More ships kept appearing. The third group was made of metal like human ships, but they were much larger and covered with weapons. Gun barrels and missile tubes stuck out from every surface. These ships meant business. Jiwoo's voice was tight with fear. "Captain, I count over 200 vessels. They're surrounding us in a perfect sphere. We can't escape in any direction." Dongwu stared at the main screen that showed all the alien ships around them. Each group was different. The crystal ships moved like dancers, smooth and graceful. The organic ships pulsed and writhed like living creatures. The metal ships stayed perfectly still, their weapons all pointing toward the Teguk's Pride. 3 different species, So-young said with wonder in her voice. "I've never seen anything like this. They're all using completely different technology." "But they're working together," Hyun-sik added. "That's what scares me. 3 alien races that have never worked with humans before, and they've joined forces against us." The communication system suddenly came alive with sound. Alien voices speaking in languages no human had ever heard before. Jiwoo worked frantically at her station, trying to make sense of it all. "I'm running everything through the translation. Computer," she said. "It's going to take a few minutes to figure out their languages." While they waited, more alien ships kept appearing. Soon the Teguk's Pride was completely surrounded. No matter which direction they tried to run, they would hit a wall of enemy vessels. The trap was perfect. "Translation coming through now," Jiwoo announced. A new voice filled the bridge. It was cold and proud, speaking perfect human language. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Krevna of the Kethvar Dominion. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed." Another voice joined in, this one deeper and rougher. "This is Commander Threx of the Vorthak Collective. Your species has spread far enough through our galaxy. Today, that expansion ends. A third voice, mechanical and precise, added its threat. Vextor of the Nixthon Empire speaks. You will provide us with all navigation data, tactical information, and submit your crew for interrogation. Comply now, or face annihilation. Captain Dongwu looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They were scared, but they trusted him. These people had followed him across the galaxy on what was supposed to be a peaceful mission. Now they were trapped by 3 alien armadas with no way to call for help and no way to escape. Sir, Hyunsik said quietly, our weapons are no match for even one of their ships, let alone 200. If we fight, we'll be destroyed in seconds. And if we surrender? Dongwu asked. So Young shook her head. They want our navigation data. That means they'll learn the locations of all human colonies. And they want to interrogate the crew. That doesn't sound like they plan to let us go. Jiwoo was monitoring the alien communications. Captain, they're talking to each other on open channels. They don't seem to care if we listen in. Admiral Krevna is saying this is meant to send a message to all humanity. They want other humans to know that we're not welcome in this part of space. The captain stood up and walked to the center of the bridge. His crew was looking at him, waiting for orders. Outside, 200 alien warships waited for his answer. The nearest human help was weeks away. His small exploration ship had weapons that might scratch the paint on one enemy vessel before being blown apart. It was an impossible situation. Any reasonable person would surrender and hope for mercy. Any brave person would fight and die with honor. But Captain Dongwu was neither reasonable nor traditionally brave. He was something much more dangerous than either of those things. He was creative. Hyun-sik, power down all weapon systems, he said calmly. Sir, you heard me. Power down the weapons. So Young, I need you to prepare the main systems for full activation, but don't turn anything on yet. Jiwoo, open a channel to all 3 fleets. His crew looked confused, but they followed his orders. They had learned to trust their captain's unusual thinking. This is Captain Dongwu of the human vessel Taeguk's Pride, he said into the communication system. I have a proposal for the commanders of all 3 fleets. The alien voices came back quickly, full of anger and impatience. You are in no position to make proposals, human, Admiral Krevna said. Surrender now or die, Commander Threx added. But Captain Dongwu smiled. He was looking at something his enemies couldn't see yet. He was looking at the way they had arranged their ships in a perfect sphere around his vessel. It was excellent tactics for preventing escape or for concentrating firepower. But it was also something else. It was exactly what he needed. The alien commanders expected many things from the trapped human ship. They expected panic. They expected desperate attempts to escape. They expected begging for mercy or a final brave charge into certain death. What they did not expect was what actually happened next. Captain Dongwu stood calmly on his bridge and spoke into the communication system like he was having a normal conversation with old friends. Admiral Krevna, Commander Threx, and Commander Vextor, I would like to invite representatives from each of your fleets to come aboard my ship for a discussion. The silence that followed lasted for nearly a full minute. On the alien ships, confusion spread through the command centers. This was not how prey was supposed to behave when surrounded by predators. Admiral Krevna was the first to respond. Her voice carried the sound of someone who could not believe what she was hearing. Human, you are surrounded by over 200 warships. You have no weapons that could threaten us. What possible discussion could we have except the terms of your surrender? Oh, I think we have quite a lot to discuss, Dongwu replied cheerfully. For example, your beautiful crystal ships. I have never seen technology like that before. And the organic vessels of Commander Threx are fascinating. How do they grow? Do they feel pain when damaged? Jiwoo looked at her captain like he had lost his mind. So Young was staring at him with her mouth open. Even steady Hyunsik seemed confused by this strange approach. Commander Threx's rough voice came through the speakers. You wish to discuss our technology while we hold your life in our hands? Why not? When will I ever get another chance to meet 3 different alien species at the same time? This is a historic moment. The first peaceful contact between humans and your civilizations. Peaceful? Vexter's mechanical voice sounded angry. There is nothing peaceful about this situation, human. You are our prisoner. Captain Dongwu walked over to Jiwoo's station and whispered something in her ear. Her eyes went wide, but she nodded and began working at her controls. Soon, detailed scans of every alien ship began broadcasting on all frequencies. The alien commanders were shocked. The human ship was sending them complete technical readouts of their own vessels. Engine specifications, weapon placements, shield frequencies, even structural weak points, everything that the human sensors had been able to detect. What is the meaning of this? Admiral Krevna demanded. A gift, Dongwu said simply. Among humans, when we meet someone new, we offer gifts to show that we come in peace. I am giving you everything my ship has learned about your vessels. Consider it a gesture of good faith. On the alien ships, tactical officers were studying the data that the humans had sent. The information was accurate and detailed. More importantly, it showed capabilities that the aliens had not expected from a simple exploration vessel. Commander Threx spoke to his own crew on a private channel. How did their sensors penetrate our bioshields? This data should be impossible for them to obtain. Meanwhile, Vextor was having similar thoughts about his metal warships. Their scanning technology is more advanced than our intelligence reports suggested. But Admiral Krevna was thinking about something else entirely. Why would the humans give away every advantage they might have had? It made no strategic sense unless they had something even better hidden away. I renew my invitation, Captain, Dongwu said. Please send one representative from each fleet. Come aboard my ship as guests. We can discuss this situation properly, face to face. You cannot be serious, Vextor said. I am completely serious. I promise you will be safe aboard my vessel. We will not harm you and you may leave whenever you wish. The three alien commanders spoke to each other on a private channel that they thought the humans could not hear. They were wrong. Jiwoo had been very busy at her station, and her translation computer was getting better at their languages every minute. This must be a trap, Admiral Krevna said. Obviously, Commander Threx agreed. But what kind of trap? They have shown us that they can scan our ships in detail. Perhaps they have other hidden capabilities. Or perhaps, Vextor suggested, they are simply insane with fear. Humans may react to hopeless situations differently than our species do. There is only one way to find out, Admiral Krevna decided. We will accept their invitation. If it is a trap, we have 200 ships ready to destroy them. If they are simply mad with terror, we will learn something useful about human psychology. An hour later, 3 small ships separated from the alien fleets and approached the Teguk's Pride. Each carried a single representative. The human ship opened its docking bay and welcomed the alien visitors aboard. Captain Dongwu met them personally at the airlock. He was wearing his best uniform and had a smile on his face like he was greeting honored guests at a party. Behind him stood So-young, Jiwoo, and Hyun-sik, all looking much calmer than anyone had a right to look in this situation. Admiral Krevna was tall and thin, with skin that looked like polished crystal. She moved with grace but kept her hand near her weapon. Commander Threx was shorter and broader, with tough skin that seemed to shift color slightly as he breathed. His ship had been grown, and he looked like he had been grown too. Vextor was the most human-looking of the three, but his eyes were metal and his movements were too precise to be natural. Welcome aboard the Teguk's Pride, Dongwu said warmly. Please follow me to our conference room. I have prepared refreshments that should be safe for your biology. The aliens followed, but they stayed alert for any sign of a trap. What they found instead was even more confusing. The conference room was comfortable and well lit. The table was set with 3 different types of food and drink, each appropriate for one of the alien species. How did you know what we could eat? Admiral Krevna asked suspiciously. Your medical scans were included in the data we sent you, So-young explained. We analyzed your biology and prepared accordingly. The crystallized minerals are for you, Admiral. Commander Threx, those protein cultures should taste familiar to your species. And Vextor, that energy supplement will recharge your biomechanical systems. The aliens sat down carefully. None of them touched the food yet. but they were impressed, despite themselves. The humans had prepared for this meeting in ways that suggested either incredible arrogance or incredible confidence. "Now then," Captain Dongwu said as he took his own seat, "shall we discuss why 3 species that are normally enemies have joined together to threaten one small human ship?" That question hit home. The 3 alien commanders looked at each other uncomfortably. It was true. Their species had fought wars against each other for centuries. This alliance was new and fragile. "We are not enemies today," Admiral Krevna said carefully. "Of course not," Dongwu agreed. "You have found something that concerns you more than your old conflicts. Human expansion into this region of space, perhaps." "Your species spreads too quickly," Commander Threx said bluntly. "You claim planets and systems without asking permission from those who were here first. We take resources that do not belong to you," Vextor added. Captain Dongwu nodded thoughtfully. "I understand your concerns. From your perspective, humans must seem very aggressive. We do expand quickly, and we do claim new worlds. But perhaps there are things about humans that you do not understand yet." "Such as?" Admiral Krevna asked. Instead of answering directly, Dongwu looked at his tactical officer. "Hyunsik, would you please explain to our guests what they have accomplished by surrounding our ship so perfectly?" Hyunsik stood up and activated a holographic display that showed all the alien ships around them. "You have achieved perfect tactical positioning," he said respectfully. "No escape routes, maximum firepower concentration, complete sensor coverage. It is textbook fleet formation for destroying a single target." The aliens nodded. This was exactly what they had intended. "But," Hyunsik continued, "you have also created something else, something that I do not think you intended." "What do you mean?" Commander Threx demanded. So Young smiled and reached for a control panel. "Perhaps it would be easier to show you." She activated the ship's main power systems for the first time since the aliens had arrived. Suddenly, displays throughout the conference room lit up with new information. Energy readings, tactical analyses, and technical specifications filled the air around them. The alien commanders stared in shock at what they were seeing. The numbers on the displays were impossible. The energy readings were beyond anything in their databases, and all of it was focused on one thing: their perfectly arranged fleet formation. "What is that?" Admiral Krevna whispered. Captain Dongwu's smile never wavered. "That, my friends, is why humanity has expanded so successfully through the galaxy. We do not fight the same way twice." The 3 alien commanders stared at the displays showing impossible energy readings from the human ship. Admiral Krevna's crystalline features reflected the light from the holographic screens as she tried to understand what she was seeing. Commander Threx's skin had shifted to a darker color, which meant he was either angry or afraid. Vextor's mechanical eyes were clicking and whirring as they analyzed the data at superhuman speed. "This is not possible," Admiral Krevna said slowly. "Your ship is a simple exploration vessel. Our intelligence reports confirm this. You cannot have weapons capable of generating these energy levels." Captain Dongwu gestured to So Young, who stood up and walked to the main display. The young engineer looked completely calm, as if she were giving a routine technical presentation instead of explaining how they might destroy 3 entire alien fleets. "You are correct that the Tegak's Pride is an exploration ship," So Young said. "But you are wrong about what that means. This vessel was built to explore unknown regions of space, often alone and far from help. That means we need to be prepared for anything we might encounter." She touched the control panel, and the display changed to show a cross-section of their ship. Deep in the center, where the main reactor should be, was something completely different. It looked like a sphere made of pure energy, surrounded by complex machinery that none of the aliens recognized. "This is a quantum resonance weapon," So Young continued. "The first one ever built by humanity. It works by analyzing the energy patterns of any target and creating a perfect counterwave that cancels out all power systems." Commander Threx leaned forward in his chair. "You are saying this device can disable our ships?" "Not just disable them," Hyunsik said, joining the conversation. "The quantum resonance effect would shut down every system simultaneously: engines, Weapons, life support, communications, everything that uses energy would stop working immediately. Vextor's mechanical voice was sharper than usual. Even if such a weapon exists, it would require enormous amounts of power. Your small ship could not possibly generate enough energy to affect our entire combined fleet. So, Young smiled. Under normal circumstances, you would be right. The quantum resonance weapon requires exactly the amount of energy that our ship can produce, but only enough to affect a single target. One ship, maybe two if they are very close together. The aliens looked relieved for a moment. If the weapon could only affect one or two ships, they still had overwhelming advantages. However, So Young continued, there is something special about quantum resonance effects that you need to understand. When the energy patterns of multiple targets are perfectly aligned, the effect can jump from one target to another, like electricity jumping through metal. Admiral Krevna was beginning to understand, and she did not like what she was thinking. You are suggesting that our fleet formation allows this effect to spread? Not just allows it, Jiwoo said from her position at the communication station. Your formation makes it inevitable. You have arranged your ships in a perfect sphere with equal distances between each vessel. The quantum resonance effect will bounce from ship to ship until every vessel in all three fleets is affected. Captain Dongwoo stood up and walked around the table so he could see all three alien commanders clearly. Your tactical perfection has become a tactical weakness. By positioning your ship so precisely, you have created the ideal conditions for our weapon to affect all of you at once. Commander Threx's skin was now very dark, almost black. This is impossible. No weapon could be designed to take advantage of such a specific situation. You are right, Dongwoo agreed. No weapon could be designed for this situation. But this weapon was not designed for your fleet formation. Your fleet formation was designed for this weapon. The silence in the conference room was complete. The alien commanders looked at each other, then back at the humans, trying to understand what they had just heard. Explain, Admiral Krevna demanded. Hyun-sik activated another display, this one showing the communications that had taken place over the past several hours. When your fleets first appeared, we immediately began scanning your vessels and analyzing your tactical movements. We predicted that three species working together would use a spherical formation for maximum effectiveness. We sent you our scanning data not as a gift, Jiwoo added, but as a way to encourage you to maintain your current positions. By showing you that we had detailed information about your ships, we made you confident that you had nothing to fear from us. The invitation to come aboard was designed to keep your fleets in position while we completed our targeting calculations, So Young explained. Every minute you have spent here, our weapon systems have been analyzing the energy patterns of every ship in your combined fleets. Captain Dongwoo returned to his seat and looked directly at each alien commander in turn. Gentlemen and lady, you have not trapped us, we have trapped you. Vextor's eyes were clicking faster now as he processed this information. You are claiming that everything that has happened was planned by humans? Not everything, Dongwoo admitted. We did not know that three alien species would work together to surround us. But we prepared for the possibility that we might encounter hostile forces that outnumbered us greatly. The quantum resonance weapon was designed specifically for situations where we faced impossible odds. Admiral Krevna stood up suddenly, her crystal skin reflecting the light in sharp, angry patterns. This is all lies. You are trying to frighten us with impossible stories about impossible weapons. Perhaps, Captain Dongwoo said calmly. Would you like to find out for certain? So Young touched her control panel again. This time the display showed real-time energy readings from the quantum resonance weapon. The numbers were climbing, steadily, showing that the device was charging toward full power. The weapon will be ready to fire in approximately 10 minutes, she announced. Once it fires, every ship in your combined fleets will lose all power simultaneously. Your crews will be alive but helpless. They will drift in space until rescue arrives, if rescue arrives. Commander Threx was looking at his own portable scanner, checking the energy readings from the human ship. His skin had gone completely black now. The energy signatures match their claims. This weapon is real. But here is the most important thing you need to understand. Captain Dongwu continued. This weapon has one critical limitation: it can only fire once. After that, the quantum matrix needs to be completely rebuilt, which takes weeks of work in a properly equipped shipyard. The alien commanders looked at each other with confusion. Why would the humans reveal such an important weakness? We are telling you this because we want you to understand our position, Hyunsik explained. We have one shot, just one. But that one shot is enough to disable your entire combined fleet because of how you have positioned your ships. We could have fired immediately when your fleets appeared, Jiwoo added. We could have disabled all your ships and then claimed we were defending ourselves against unprovoked aggression. The human military would have supported our story, and your species would have faced retaliation from our government. Admiral Krevna was beginning to see the bigger picture. But you chose not to fire immediately. We chose to talk first, Captain Dongwu confirmed. We invited you aboard our ship. We shared food with you. We treated you as honored guests instead of enemies. We wanted to give you the chance to understand that humans prefer cooperation to conflict. So Young checked her instruments. 7 minutes until the weapon reaches full charge. So now you have a choice to make, Captain Dongwu said seriously. You can order your fleets to attack us, and we will fire the quantum resonance weapon. All your ships will be disabled, but we will survive. Your crews will eventually be rescued, but the political consequences will last for generations. What is our other choice? Vexator asked. You can order your fleets to withdraw. We will power down our weapon and allow you to leave safely. In return, you will agree to establish formal diplomatic relations with humanity. We will set up proper channels for discussion about territorial boundaries, resource sharing, and peaceful coexistence. Commander Threx looked at the energy readings on his scanner again. And if we refuse both options? Captain Dongwu's expression became very serious. Then we fire the weapon anyway. Disable your fleets and let the human government decide how to handle 3 species that declared war on us without provocation. I think you can guess how that would end. The 3 alien commanders sat in silence, thinking about their impossible situation. They had come here to demonstrate human weakness, but instead had discovered that humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. 5 minutes, So Young announced quietly. The aliens had to make their choice. The conference room was so quiet that everyone could hear the soft humming of the ship's life support systems. The 3 alien commanders sat frozen in their chairs, staring at the displays that showed the quantum resonance weapon charging toward full power. 4 minutes and 30 seconds remained before they would have to live with whatever choice they made. Commander Threx was the first to break the silence. His skin had returned to its normal color, which meant he was thinking instead of just reacting with anger or fear. Captain Dongwu, you said that humans prefer cooperation to conflict, but what you have done here seems very much like conflict to me. Does it? Captain Dongwu asked. We have not fired any weapons at your ships. We have not threatened to hurt any of your crews. We invited you aboard our vessel and offered you food. We explained our capabilities honestly instead of hiding them. How is this conflict? Admiral Krevna's crystal features caught the light as she leaned forward. You have trapped our fleets and threatened to disable them. You call this cooperation? We have shown you that we could disable your fleets if we chose to do so, Jiwoo corrected. But we have also offered you a way to avoid that outcome entirely. True conflict would have been to fire first and explain later. Vexter's mechanical eyes focused on So Young. You said your weapon can only fire once. What happens after you use it? What stops us from rebuilding our fleets and returning for revenge? So Young smiled. Nothing stops you from trying. But think about what would happen if you did. You would return to human space with 3 rebuilt fleets, and you would find that we had spent months or years preparing for your arrival. Do you think we would make the same preparations twice? The quantum resonance weapon was our solution for fighting multiple fleets at once, Hyunsik added. If you came back, we would have different surprises waiting for you. Human military doctrine is very simple. Never fight the same battle twice. 3 minutes, So Young announced. Commander Threx looked at his fellow commanders. We need to decide. But I want to understand something first. Captain Dongwu, Your species could have built many ships with these quantum weapons. You could have used them to attack our homeworlds before we even knew you existed. Why did you not do this, Captain? Dongwu was quiet for a moment before answering. Because that is not who humans are. We explore new regions of space because we want to discover new things, meet new species, and learn about the galaxy. We do not explore so we can find new enemies to fight. But you were prepared to fight if necessary, Admiral Krevna observed. Of course. We learned long ago that the galaxy can be a dangerous place, but being prepared for war and wanting war are two completely different things. Vextor was running calculations in his mechanical brain, trying to find a flaw in the human logic. Your offer of diplomatic relations. What would that involve exactly? Jiwoo activated a new display showing star charts of the local region. We would establish formal communication channels between our governments. We would negotiate territorial boundaries that respect your existing claims while allowing room for human expansion. We would set up trading agreements and cultural exchange programs. Most importantly, Captain Dongwu added, we would make sure that nothing like this situation ever happens again. Your species would know where humans are going and why. Our species would understand your concerns and work to address them. 2 minutes. The three alien commanders looked at each other, having a silent conversation through facial expressions and small gestures. They were leaders who had spent their entire careers making tactical decisions, but this situation was unlike anything they had ever faced. Commander Threx spoke first. If we agree to your terms, what guarantee do we have that other humans will honor these agreements? The same guarantee you can offer that other members of your species will honor them, Dongwu replied. None of us can speak for our entire species, but we can speak for our governments, and governments that break diplomatic agreements usually find themselves facing consequences they do not like. Admiral Krevna was studying the star charts. The territorial boundaries you are suggesting would give humans access to the Kepler nebula systems. Those are some of the richest mining areas in this region. They are also completely uninhabited, So Young pointed out. Your species have never established colonies there because the radiation makes it difficult for your biology to survive. Humans have better radiation shielding technology. We could mine those systems and trade the resources to your species for things we need. 1 minute. Vextor's eyes were clicking rapidly now. This is not how wars are supposed to end. The losing side surrenders. The winning side takes what it wants. There are no negotiations between equals when one side has completely defeated the other. But that is exactly the point, Hyun-sik said. We do not want to defeat you. We want to work with you. A defeated enemy becomes a problem that never goes away. An ally becomes a source of strength for everyone involved. 30 seconds. The tension in the room was so thick it seemed solid. Captain Dongwu sat calmly in his chair, watching the three alien commanders wrestle with their decision. His crew waited silently at their stations, ready to support whatever choice their captain made. 10 seconds, So Young said quietly. Admiral Krevna stood up suddenly. Stop the weapon. Commander Threx and Vextor looked at her in surprise, but after a moment they both nodded their agreement. We accept your terms, Admiral Krevna continued. We will withdraw our fleets and establish diplomatic relations with humanity. Captain. Dongwu smiled and nodded to So Young, who immediately began powering down the quantum resonance weapon. The energy readings on all the displays dropped to 0, and the humming sound that had been building in the background faded away. Thank you, Dongwu said simply. I believe this decision will benefit all of our species for many years to come. Over the next hour, the three alien commanders worked with the human crew to establish the basic framework for their new diplomatic relationship. They exchanged communication frequencies, territorial maps, and preliminary trade agreements. It was not a complete peace treaty, but it was a solid foundation for building one. When the alien representatives finally returned to their ships, something remarkable happened. Instead of maintaining their threatening formation around the Taeguk's pride, the three fleets began to spread out into loose, non-threatening positions. It was a sign of good faith that meant more than any words could. As the alien ships prepared to leave, Admiral Krevna sent one final message to Captain Dongwu. Human Captain, I have one last question. How did you know we would choose diplomacy over destruction? Captain Dongwu smiled as he activated the communication system. Because you are leaders, not destroyers. Leaders think about the future of their people. Destroyers only think about the present moment. I was betting that you were leaders. And if you had been wrong, then we would have disabled your fleets and dealt with the consequences. But I was not wrong, was I? There was a pause before Admiral Krevna responded. No, Captain, you were not wrong. As the alien fleets jumped away into hyperspace, Captain Dongwu remained on his bridge watching the empty space where 200 enemy warships had been just moments before. His crew was celebrating quietly, but he was thinking about what would happen next. Captain, So-Young said from her engineering station, I should probably tell you something about the quantum resonance weapon. What about it? So-Young looked a little embarrassed. It does not actually work yet. The energy readings the aliens detected were just our main reactor cycling through its startup sequence. The real weapon only exists in theoretical form back on Earth. Captain Dongwu stared at her for a moment, then began to laugh. Soon his entire crew was laughing with him. So we just convinced 3 alien fleets to retreat using a weapon that does not exist? Basically, yes, sir. Captain Dongwu shook his head in amazement. Well, I suppose it worked. By the time word of this encounter spreads through alien space, the story will have grown far beyond what actually happened here. The galaxy will hear that humans faced impossible odds and won without firing a single shot. What happens when they realize the truth? Jiwoo asked. They will realize that the most dangerous thing about humans is not our weapons, Hyun-sik said with a grin. It is our ability to convince our enemies that our weapons are more dangerous than they actually are. Captain Dongwu nodded and ordered course set for home. He knew that this encounter would change everything. Humanity had gained 3 new allies and earned a reputation that would open doors across the galaxy. Sometimes the greatest victories came not from the weapons you used, but from the weapons your enemies believed you might use.